Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at 15 incredible ROM hacks for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. So first we're going to be taking a look at some DX mods, which basically take an original Game Boy game and convert them to be full color, and these are just incredible. You don't want to miss any of them. The next one is improvements, which take an original Game Boy game and improve on some of the concepts in those games to make them even more fun to play in the modern age. And the third thing is remixes, which takes those original games and completely remakes the game with brand new levels, brand new environments, and brand new graphics. There's 15 really cool mods to show you in this week's video, so let's get straight into it. The first one is a simple colour modification. You might be familiar of HAL's early pinball game called Revenge of the Gator. Well, this is Revenge of the Gator DX. It's basically a really nice visual enhancement of the original game, and playing it almost feels like it's completely official. It really doesn't feel like anything's out of place, and it feels like that if this game did come out on the Game Boy Color, this is exactly how it would have looked, and it was great fun to play this game as well. It narrowly missed out on being in my top 20 games that I did a few weeks ago, so definitely recommend Revenge of the Gator if you like pinball games, and this is by far the best way to play it too. Now, Limited Run missed out on a trick with this one. This game is Spanky's Quest and the DX version of that game, and Limited Run actually released a re-release of the original Game Boy game here, but what they're doing with something like Trip World very soon is actually taking the original games and applying a fresh coat of paint over the top. It would have been really cool to see what an official DX version of Spanky's Quest would have looked like, but for now we have this amazing fan modification here, and I'm sure you'll agree by looking at the graphics over the video right now that it just looks incredible. I'm just blown away by all of these DX mods, by the way. The people that have put so much time and effort into recreating our favourite games in colour have done such an incredible job, so please go and show them your support. Check out all the links in the description down below. Next up is a colour port of one of my favourite games on the system, that is Kirby's Dream Land 2, and this just looks absolutely outstanding. The colours in this actually look, in my opinion, better than the colours in Kirby's Adventure for the NES. It really is just mind-blowing that this basically feels like a completely brand new, fresh, original Kirby game, and I really wish there had been a proper Kirby game on the Game Boy Color, so this definitely fills that void really nicely, and it's probably the best DX mod that I've ever seen. It really is amazing. Or maybe this one's the best one that I've ever seen, to be honest, and this is a game that I included in my last video. This is Mega Man 5, or Rockman World 5, and this is an incredible colour restoration of the best Mega Man game on the original Game Boy. It looks incredible. Honestly, I think this looks as good or even better than some of the NES games that inspired it. Just look how fresh this looks. I really wish that they would have ported more original Game Boy games to the Game Boy Color and gave them the DX treatment like Nintendo did with some of their titles like Zelda. And I'm sure that you're all aware of the Mario Land 1 and 2 DX hacks, and they are amazing, but something even cooler that I found was a hack for the original Donkey Kong Land. And the reason that this is such a big deal is the fact that a lot of people get really frustrated with the graphics in the original Donkey Kong Land because it's all black and white, everything blends together, and obviously Rare was trying to go for really detailed graphics and environments, whereas having the ability to play the game in colour really separates everything out nicely, and it is a lot more fun to play in this way. So I actually think that the Donkey Kong Land DX mod actually goes to show that just adding colour can actually improve the gameplay as well, and this is definitely a great example of that. Alright, the next category is improvements, and oh my god, I found so much incredible stuff. It was very difficult to narrow it down to just 5, but here they are. This is Tetris Rosy Retrospective, and this is honestly a completely modern version of the original Game Boy Tetris. I'm just blown away with what they managed to do with this, and there's also a DX version as well that you can add over the top to make the original game play in colour, which for one thing I actually think the colour in this is better and more cohesive than the colour in Tetris DX, which was the official colour Tetris game, so that is one thing, but apart from that I was just blown away with all the really cool enhancements that are in this game. It has Not only does it have hard drop, which was a separate mod that I covered a few years ago, but now you actually have a shadow piece on the screen as well, so you can see where the block's going to line up on the screen before you hard drop. As well as that, it also now has a brand new hold feature where you can press the select button, and if you don't want that block, then it goes over to the side into the hold area for you to recall later. And it's just such an incredible modification, and from now on, if I ever want to play the original Game Boy Tetris, this is definitely the way that I'll play it. Now, this one is really interesting. This one's actually an improvement of a prototype game that never actually got released. This is the full bug-fixed version of the original Resident Evil. Not Resident Evil Gaiden that you might expect on the Game Boy Color. This was actually the original PlayStation and Sega Saturn Resident Evil game, downscaled to fit onto the Game Boy, and I'll definitely do a video about this in the future where I cover some of the unreleased games for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. But what the modders have done here is actually fix a few bugs in this prototype version that stopped players being able to experience the rest of the game, and it's so incredible what the developers were managing to do with the Game Boy Color here. It's the entire game, you can go right from start to finish now, and the areas are so similar to what you get in the PlayStation or the Saturn. It really is incredible, and I don't know why Capcom cancelled it. It actually plays surprisingly well, so if you want to check it out, then go ahead and download this hack, and you can actually play through the full proper Resident Evil 1 on the Game Boy Color. It really is a crazy and impressive experience. So this next mod is a bit of a weird one because this doesn't actually improve the game in any meaningful way. Well, I guess it kind of does, but the game actually revolves around a limitation. Basically, you play as this tank and you can only turn the turret to the right, and that was the whole gameplay gimmick for this game Trax, made by HAL, which I actually did a review of a few years ago if you want to go back and find out more about this game. But what this mod does is very simple, and it probably didn't take that long to program, but it was really cool when I stumbled across it. Basically, you can now turn the turret not just to the right, but you can also turn it to the left as well by pressing the select button, and that makes the game a whole lot easier, and it kind of goes against the developer's original game, but I still think it's a really fun mod, and it's a really cool idea, and something that's really easy to implement as well. So it's cool. If you like Trax and you want to play it in a little different way, you can check this one out. And finally, a mod for Castlevania 2. And I showed off a mod in Castlevania 2 in the last one of these videos that I did about 4 years ago now. And that one was to increase the speed and to change some of the physics. But this one is a different mod that I came across that actually changes how the jump responds. And this is really cool. So if you've ever played any of the original Castlevania games, on the 8-bit systems at least, you'll know that the jump is very unforgiving. Basically, you jump in one direction and you just keep moving in that direction. But what this mod does is actually allow you to maneuver in the air and to actually change the height of your jump as well, which makes maneuvering around in the game so much easier. Like, have a look at the gameplay over here and see how much easier it was for me to take out some of these bird enemies. It was a lot more fun to play it in this way, and again, I know it kind of goes against the developer's original intent, because the original Castlevania games were designed like that on purpose, to be more slow and methodical platformers compared to something like Mario, or some of Konami's other games even. But with this hack, it does make it a lot more manageable, and it makes it feel a lot more modern as well. So definitely one to check out if you like your Castlevania games and you want to play them in a little bit of a different way. And finally, we have Remixes, and this is taking an existing game and creating brand new levels and content for the game. So let's start off with one of my favourite games on the Game Boy, and that is Mario Picross. And this mod here, Mario Picross X, actually takes the original game and completely revamps every single puzzle in the game to be game focused. It actually takes pixel art from existing NES and SNES games and allows those to become the puzzles in the game itself. It's such a cool concept, and I really wish that the original Mario's Picross actually featured more game content, so I was really happy when I found this one, and I've had a great time playing through some of these new puzzles. So I'm a massive fan of Donkey Kong 94. It's one of my favourite puzzle platformers ever, so I was really excited when I found out that there's a completely new set of levels for the game called Donkey Kong Summer. These are actually really difficult levels made for people that have an intimate understanding of the game's physics, which luckily I do, and I really enjoyed playing these but I feel like if you're kind of new to this style of game, you might really struggle with these ones. But it's still really cool to see developers making brand new content for these older games. So if you ever played Metroid 2 but you wish that Samus was more relatable, well, this is the mod for you. This is Metroid 2, Samus goes to the fridge to get a glass of milk. And yeah, the game is just as absurd as that title. Apparently this is a follow-up to a Metroid Fusion mod as well, so I'll definitely check that one out when I get around to doing my GBA mods video. But anyway, this game is really more of a joke than anything. It's only about 5 minutes long, all the power-ups are just in a line, you don't really need to think at all. And then you get to the end, you fight one boss, and you pick up a glass of milk and the game's over, and it gives you this really hilarious end credits sequence. I have no idea what the in-joke is with this game or with this mod series, but I really had a lot of fun finding out about this one. 2 left now, and this one is a mod for my actual favourite game on the entire system, Mario Land, and this is a mod called Mario Land X. And once again, this completely revamps the entire game, and I really enjoyed this one. I actually played it all the way through to the end. The levels are obviously not as intricately designed or as official kind of looking as the real Mario levels, but what is here is just the right amount of challenge to challenge someone who's played and really enjoyed Mario Land before. So if you basically want more of the same with different level layouts for the same themes, then definitely check this one out. Even the submarine and even the aeroplane at the end have brand new level designs as well, so it was really cool to be able to play all the way through this one, so that is really cool. And a few years ago I actually did download the software to be able to mod Mario Land myself, so maybe making this video and playing this ROM hack has kind of given me the motivation to go back to that project and actually make my own levels for the game. Maybe one day another YouTuber out there will be making a video about my personal Mario Land ROM hack. That would be really cool to see, so we'll see whether I ever do anything with that, but it's something in the back of my mind whirring away that I'd like to try and do at some point. So somehow I forgot to record the on-camera section for this game, so excuse the change of scenery and the change of clothes. I just want to tell you about another really cool ROM hack, this time for The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. This one is called Link's New Awakening, and basically think of this one as a Master Quest version of the original Link's Awakening. Surprisingly, this mod has actually been out already for about 10 years, but this was the first that I'd actually found out about, and I was really impressed with what they've done here. All the dungeons are completely revamped, with new level layouts, new enemy placements and new items, and some parts of the overworld have also been remixed as well. So if you enjoyed that kind of thing on the GameCube with Ocarina of Time Master Quest, then you're sure to love this one for the Game Boy Color as well. It kind of makes me wish that Nintendo released a kind of DLC for some of these Zelda games to remix the dungeons and the item placement for people that are familiar with the games like I am. It's great to revisit these games and have something slightly fresh to re-experience. Imagine if they'd done something like this for Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. That would have been so cool. So thank you so much to the modder who made this game possible. And you might have noticed an absence of Pokemon in this video, apart from my really cool t-shirt. Look at that. How awesome is that t-shirt? I'd lost it for ages and I just found it, so I had to wear it for this. Anyway, the reason that I haven't included any Pokemon games in this video is because I'm actually planning on doing a full video just about Pokemon mods and ROM hacks in the future, because there's so much cool stuff out there. But there was one that I just had to include in this video, and this is something that I've dreamed of playing for years and years. It's a restoration of the Space World 1997 demo of Pokemon Gold and Silver. So that was like 2 years before the games actually came out, when Nintendo first showed them off. Someone managed to get a dump of that ROM, and they've actually recreated it and actually built an entire game around the map and around all of the beta Pokemon sprites and everything, and it is completely 100% playable from start to finish, and it is just such a weird trip down kind of a memory lane that doesn't really exist, playing this game that I've played and loved for years and years in this new way. So it's kind of familiar in some ways and kind of brand new and fresh in other ways, and it's got all of the beta Pokemon, and I really loved some of those designs that they didn't go with in the end. So if you like gaming history as much as I do, then I'm sure you can agree that this is such a cool thing to be able to experience today. So that's it. That was 15 incredible ROM hacks for the Game Boy. Let me know down in the comments below what your favourites were. Let me know whether I missed any, and I'll do a follow-up in the future. And if you enjoyed this and you want to see more Game Boy ROM hacks, then the video's kind of old now, but click up here and watch this one that I made a few years ago. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.